Welcome to Hairbrain Live number 297. This is a takeover by Slate Hair Education. We're at Flora Studios here in Cyprus, and tonight we have the creative director of Slate Hair, Michael Pichilidis.
Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in, guys. As George Achilleos said, we're here in Cyprus. George is actually our education director here in Cyprus, so it's nice for everyone out there who watches our videos to see our team. So we have the lovely Rafaela here with us today, and we're going to do a little twist on a classic haircut. So it's going to have a lot of classic elements to it, but it's going to have that little bit of a different twist to it. So what I'm doing is I'm starting just at the back. If you want to come over, Chris, you can see as well. What I've done is I've actually started the haircut already. I've been taking vertical sections and I've been cutting in my graduation first. So I've just been working down the head all the way to the bottom with my graduation, and I've been working my sections around the head pivoting. So I'm just coming to my last section on the side as well. So everyone who's tuning in, if you have any questions, we'd love to answer your questions, and please don't forget to like and share. Cool. So what I want to explain to you a little bit more is also about what kind of a haircut we're going to be doing today. So at the back, we can see we're going to have this lovely fitting graduated shape. And what's going to happen is the front is actually going to come shorter. So what we've got is we've got this lovely graduation coming through to the back, and we're actually going to take the sides in shorter. We're going to leave some long, softer pieces in the front, and we're going to have a long top which sweeps to the side as well. So it's going to be a really interesting shape, but it just works on really classic techniques. So as we said, guys, for those of you that are just tuning in, please, feel free to ask us questions, especially technical questions about haircuts. We love answering all of your questions, so don't be afraid to ask them, and we'll try and answer them as best as we can. So I'm just finishing up on the one side now, and then you'll start to see the shape that we've built from the back. Okay, and guys, also let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to hear that. So what we can see is that the graduation is sitting really nice and tight in the back, but there's leaving a little bit more length towards the top as well. So what you're getting is this beautiful head shape coming through. The hairline is very, very jumpy, but I'm actually going to work with the hairline, not against it. So we can see that it wants to move back, and I actually like the way that the hair moves already. So I'm just going to work with the way that it's moving. So once I've finished the one side, I'm going to move over to my second side as well. So we always make sure that the hair is really wet. It just allows some consistency of our work. And I think that's really important, that doing things consistently, having very even tension and even sections. So the wetness is going to allow you to take your sections really clean. It's going to allow you to keep an even tension when you work. So you get some kind of graduation that has uniform. So it's not tighter in one place than the other, because the wetness is what allows you to do that. So you can see we've worked from the top point, and in our first section we actually had the guideline visible. And after that we're using the hair underneath that we've already cut as a guideline from our work. Now I'm looking at the bone structure, so as the bone comes in, what I'm doing is I'm actually bringing my comb down. So you can see I'm building more graduation. As the head curves away from me, I'm actually pulling the hair more down each time. And what this does is it allows it to hug the head even more. So guys, please let us know where you're from. George will give us a little shout out as well.
Actually, we already have a question.
Oh, I like the questions, please.
It's from Jeremy Hickson.
Hi, Jeremy.
Why start the graduation at the top?
Well, one thing that I find is when you want to build graduation, it's really important to build the right amount of weight at the top of the head at the back, right? So sometimes if you start from anywhere else, you're not going to be 100% sure how much weight you're building. When you start from the top, it allows you to actually analyze where the hair's going to fall, so you can see where the hair's going to fall, and then you can think about where you're building the weight from. So if I take my first section from here, what I can do is I can literally bring my hand down, and I can see where the weight is going to sit onto the head shape. And that gives you a really good indication of where you want to build the weight from. So I just find it easier myself to start from the top. Sometimes you have a tendency to get it a little bit flatter, but depending on the effects you want, as long as you control the length, then you can control where the hair is going to sit as well. That's a really good question, though. We really appreciate it. So I hope that answers it. Let me know if it doesn't, and we'll go into even more detail.
So we have people from UK, from Italy, Philadelphia, Canada, all over the world actually.
Brilliant. Do we have anyone from Cyprus yet? If you're from Cyprus, you have to give us a little shout out because we're here with you today. So as we said, we're in the beautiful L'Oreal studios here in Cyprus. They're our sponsors here, and we do courses with them all year round here at L'Oreal. So we're just combing the hair down to see is building in the right place and where we want it to be. And again, we pivot, very, very important, from the top. So we always have the same guideline whenever we work. So if we pull the top, we're going to see that we have the top length which is not being cut, and that's our guideline that we're doing the right thing. So what I'm doing is I'm holding the hair higher, but as I come down on the neck, I'm actually bringing it lower each time. And what I've done is I've really analysed the suitability of this, and I've analysed the face shape. Obviously, Rafaela has a beautiful, beautiful face shape, and we just want to expose it more. And we're just going to leave the sides out, but just to add an element of softness to it as well. But we can see again, we've analysed the way that the hair grows, and we see that it grows back. So again, we're just trying to work with the hairlines rather than against it. I feel these days, a lot of people like to work against the hairlines, you know, but for us, here at Slay, I think we like to work with the hairlines a lot. I think it's harder to work with a hairline than to just cut it off. But tell me what you think, guys. Do you agree with me? Let us know.
Mike, MJ say hi, handsome.
Oh, beautiful. So we have my wife watching. That's good. Lovely support. Probably the one viewer we have. Thanks for all the support, MJ. That's good. I hope it's not too cold in England right now. It's boiling here in Cyprus. Not rubbing it in or anything at all. So we can see the weight building really nicely. As we comb it round, we can see the head shape coming and hugging. And even when I'm doing it, what I'm doing is, as I point my fingers, I'm looking at the bone structure here actually. I'm looking at making sure that where it sits, it works with the jawline and it works with the bone structure of the head as well. So we can see that as it comes down, it matches it. And that's very easy to do when you start from the top as well. Because what you're doing is you're actually bringing it round and you're looking at the bone structure as you're cutting. So for me, kind of the last thing I look at is the bit of hair that I'm cutting. It's the least important. The most important is all the rest of the hair that I'm leaving behind. You know, we have this famous saying, it's not what you cut, it's what you leave behind. So I'm not looking at the bit that I'm cutting, I'm really focusing on the bit of hair that I'm leaving behind after this. Cool, so yeah guys, as we said, any technical questions, please throw them our way. We'd love to answer them.
Please, if you like it, share the video so everybody can see us.
Exactly. So what we're doing is we're just going to come around for you a little bit so you can see the graduation building across as well. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a tiny little bit of a cross check. So I'm moving the hair away onto the side and I'm bringing it up. So just to do a little cross check as well. So sorry guys, that was a phone that we forgot to switch off. Apologies so much. So we're just cross-checking now as we work, and we're lifting the hair up. And any little bits that stick out to us is our chance to cut it off and get blend. So when you cross-check, it's important to not use too much tension or to change your shape. So a lot of people, when they cross-check, they end up changing the shape. And that's something that you don't want to do. All you're doing is grabbing a large amount of hair and you're just cleaning the line to make sure everything blends through. This is going to bring what I like to call flow to the haircut. And so by adding this kind of flow, it just gives a softness and movement to the hair. So again, large sections, not too much tension, and you're going against the way you cut. So if we cut the hair this way, we're coming across in the opposite direction. So as you can imagine, this just grabs all the blemishes, all those little bits of hair that we didn't manage to get coming across. Cool, so let us know guys where you're from. If you have any questions, we'd absolutely love to hear them and answer them for you.
So actually, do you want to share with us why you're in Cyprus?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to tell everyone why we're here. So we're actually here doing a show. Why don't you come around, Chris, to the other side for me. So we're actually doing a show here in Cyprus for the Omos Bondian. It's kind of like the Salon International of Cyprus, as it were. And we've been asked to come here and do a really big show, which is amazing, which happens on Sunday. And We've also doing classes here, so we had a really full class when we came here, when was it, on Thursday?
Yeah, on the 8th.
On the 8th. So yeah, we've just been in Cyprus doing some classes here at L'Oreal and now this amazing show. So we hope you guys stay tuned to what we're doing. If you follow us on Facebook or Instagram, you can see all of our stories. So guys, that's actually the back done. So for those of you that are just joining us, what we're doing is we're doing a little twist on a classic look. We're doing this lovely bit of graduation through the back, and now we're actually going to come in and take the sides shorter and connect it and sort of flows through the back. We're going to have this little bit of a long piece through the front and some softness here. This is Rafaela, by the way. She's our beautiful model. And yeah, so that's it. I've done the back, so now I'm going to connect through from the sides. So I'm just going to move over and take this hair out. First, I'm just going to wet the hair down. As we said before, it's all about consistency with the water. It's all about making sure the hair is really damp everywhere to allow you to keep the same consistency when you work. Hairdressing is all about repetition. It's all about consistency. So if you just follow the same method and you're really consistent with the way you work, you'll find that your haircuts will be really clean afterwards. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going to comb the hair in the direction that I want to take my section in. This is really important when you work, to actually comb in the direction that you want to take your section, because when you pull the hair out, it happens very easily, and then you can pin everything away. So one thing that I see a lot of students do is they actually end up combing the hair in the opposite direction where they want to pull the hair from, and you basically get stuck. So just to come back to what I'm doing, I have my corner here from where I've done the back to the front. I've actually taken a little piece out here so that I have a consistent guideline to work with. So in other words, that I'm connecting to the right point from the front and the sides. Because this is a new section, I'm also going to decide the length of the front from here. So when I hold my hand out, if I want to know where it's going to fall, it's very easy again. I just drop my fingers down and I can measure onto the face shape where the hair's going to fall. So we have some amazing cheeks here as well. So we just want to pop the hair onto the cheeks as well. So I'll first pull the hair out. I'll measure down, just lift your head up a bit. I'll just measure down onto the cheeks and I'll start to cut the sides. Okay, we can see that it's arrived at the same point. We want to make sure that there's a connection from the front and the back. So I work from the back and I just bring it towards the front, and any bulk I find, I remove it. And I always find doing this, when you work from the back, come back from the front. So what I mean is, if you come this way, it's good to come back again, just to make sure you have no corners and no heavy weight. So now we can see this beautiful connection between what's going on at the front and what's going on at the back.
We had a question about what angle you use at the back to cut.
So do they mean angle in terms of elevation or angle?
Yeah, they're moving down from top to down. Which angle did you use?
Well, I mean, there's two different angles, if you want to call it that. You know, one of them is about your elevation, so one is about how much up or down you go. So if the more high you go, the softer the haircut's going to be. The lower you go, the heavier it's going to be. In terms of the shape, so the angle that we've taken across, what we're looking at the bone structure. So where the head is widest, I'm trying to go a bit flatter. And where the head comes out, I'm trying to pull it out a little bit. So what you're doing is you're balancing where the bone sits. And this is what I find. If you do really good haircuts, they mold around the head shape beautifully. Remember that the art that we create with a haircut, it always sits on a human's head. And so what we have to do is we have to work with the way the person's head shape is in order to create a nice silhouette. What I mean by this is when the hair falls around the head shape, it's going to accentuate the beautiful things and not the things that we don't want to look at. I hope that answers your question. Let me know if it does. If it doesn't, we'll have another go with it.
We had a question on either. Are you from two different people? Are you Sassoon trained?
I was working at Sassoon once upon a time. So yeah, I used to work with them before we started our own education company, Slate. I think obviously, yeah, we work in this precision way, but one thing that we try and always do is not to define what is a good haircut or not, just to define, is it the way that you imagine the haircut to be? I think this is really important for me. For me, a haircut is not right or wrong. It's purely whether it's what you wanted to create. So if you had a vision of doing a haircut and it came out exactly as you imagined it, that's a good haircut. If you had an idea for a haircut and at the end it didn't really look like what you were thinking, that's possibly not a good haircut because it wasn't what you wanted. So I think by allowing yourself to understand how hair works, you can actually create the haircut that you always wanted to. It gave me a lot of freedom to learn how to create a precision haircut because it allowed me to really express myself as an artist, to really create the haircut that I had in my mind. So we have a beautiful connection point here. You know, I don't know how well you guys can see it as well, but we have this beautiful connection coming around. We've worked with the bone structure again, so where the head kind of sits out, we've really built the graduation in the back, and then where the head recedes, we've built the weight around. So we have this beautiful connection as it comes through, and I love the movement in it. So we can see again that the hair's combed in the direction that we're looking to cut it in, and we're just taking thin slices and we're connecting it from the front to the back. And so, for those of you that are just joining us, this is a bit of a quirky shape on a classic. So it's almost like a round graduation, but we've gone from it a little different way. We're going to leave a little bit of softness, and we're going to just have a long sweepy bit through the front. And this is Rafaela, our amazing model. So guys, give a thumbs up for Rafaela for letting us use her hair for education.
We have more people. We have from Denmark, we have from Cyprus,
we have
from Czech Republic.
Amazing.
More and more people are tuning in, actually.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. As we saw, Michael Pizzolidis from Slave Hair Education. This is our lovely model, Rafaela. This is our education director, George, here with us in Cyprus. We're here in Cyprus doing a show for their hair and beauty show. It's on Sunday, so if you happen to be in Cyprus, come check us out. If you're not in Cyprus, fly over. Why not? Have a holiday. It's still sunny here.
Yeah, it's still warm, that's true.
Exactly. We won't tell everyone it was really raining a minute ago. We'll make people feel jealous. So what you can see is I'm just connecting through again from the front to the back. So we'd already created this beautiful graduation throughout the back, working from the back and pivoting our sections from a center point around the head, creating this lovely graduation, then working actually from the point that we've already created to the length we want in the front. So when we took sections across, we connected it through as we worked from the back towards the front. And this at the end gave us this beautiful little flow of this haircut coming in. And we've worked with the hairline, not against, so we've left a little bit of length for it to move where it wants to move. I actually like a bit of movement in the hairline.
We have a nice question, Mike.
Please, I love questions.
It's from Dominic Bartolo.
Hi, Dominic.
Why is it you section from behind the ear?
So I took that section because of the head shape, essentially. Because of the head shape after the ear gets very wide. So what I wanted to do was from behind the ear, I wanted to really build the weight. So I looked at the head shape and I said, from here it goes quite flat. So I took the head back, more triangular, let's say, and I really built my graduation. So what I did is after where the bones stick out, I actually took my sections across and I'm layering it. So if we see that when I take my section, I'm going to actually be lifting the hair quite high up. So what I've done is I've really built the bone structure to build the weight in the back, and then when I've come on the sides, I'm now flattening it to work with the bone structure. Again, I think it's really important to work with people's bone structures. That is what's going to allow it to sit nicely around their head. You know, we talk about suitability, but it's really just about understanding what kind of head shape they have and what kind of shape you want to create around it. I think the funny thing is a lot of colorists work like this. You know, if you're a colorist and you think, okay, the hair's green and I want to make it orange, do I put orange on it? I don't know, I'm not a colorist, by the way, I'm just saying. You have to think about the undertones, right? You have to think about what color the hair is already, and you don't just put the same color you want on. So it's the same with the haircut. If you want this shape, and you want to create it on your client, you can't just do the same sectioning. You actually have to understand the head shape in order to adapt the haircut for how it's going to sit around their head. Does that make sense to everyone? Give us a thumbs up, give us a shout if that makes sense. We need your feedback, guys. We love hearing it. We love hearing how we're doing and if it's all making sense.
People asking when you will go to USA.
Guys, we'd love to come. Drop us a message, you know. We'd love to come out there. It's been a year since we've been. Yeah, we were there actually Christmas last year. So, you know, we'd love to be back, guys. Drop us a message and we'd love to talk. Cool. So we could see that beautiful, really for me, beautiful graduation coming in. Softness, we've built the weight, we've slimmed the weight on the side. So you can see here where the widest bone is, it's actually quite flat. And it builds the weight towards the back more than anything. So that's working with the bone structure. I wish you guys were here to feel Rafaela's head. She would love that, right? It's all right? You don't mind? Cool. So it's very important to feel the bone structure to work with it. You're all right, Chris?
Yep.
You had a cameraman down almost. It's fine. So again, what I've done is I've connected now my last section with the back as well. So now I can work with a clean length from the back as my guideline as I'm working towards the front. So I'm, again, just elevating the head, just put the head straight again. Now, when I work, especially with graduation, I like to work with tension. Tension allows things to blend. Think of it like a spring. If you pull the hair, what happens is when you cut it with tension, when you let go, it bounces back. And that creates a blend with everything. So it allows everything to just blend nicer when you work. So what I've done is I've worked through one way. Now I'm going to cross-check vertically. Okay? What I like to always do is if you want a haircut that's going to be easy to manage, it's very important to work with the crown area. So where the hair grows from is very important. So I'm going to come back from the crown area, from where the growth patterns are, and I'm just going to do a little cross-check. Maybe I might want to spin around for you, Chris. So what I'm doing is I'm coming from the crown, I'm lifting the hair up from the crown, and this way, when the hair falls naturally, it's going to fall into a really nice space. Because again, you've worked with the head shape and with the way the hair moves. For me, this really changed my life. You know, it really changed the way I worked when I started to work with the hair, not against it. You know, we're not there you know, necessarily to make people fight with their hair. We're not there to fight with their hair. We're to make the hair work for them. So if they want to wake up in the morning and just ruffle their hair and have a beautiful haircut, it's all about working with the bone structure and with the root movement of the hair. It's very, very important. And I think it's something we've lost a little bit these days. You know, we've got so much into precision that we've lost the concept of movement and softness within our work. So again, we're just pivoting from the crown area, bringing it across, and we're just cleaning. So remember, it's like dusting the shelves. You just want to take the tiniest bit off. If you see that you're taking off more than 1 millimeter when you work, most likely by the time you get to your last section, you're going to have taken 1.5 centimeters, 1 inch. And what that means is you've changed your shape. And that's not what you want to do. You don't want to spend an hour cleaning up your haircut to find that you've actually changed everything. So less is more when you're cross-checking, always. Cool, we got some questions?
Yeah, but Lisa, horizontal graduation, I always end up with too much weight.
Yeah, horizontal graduation, normally you tend to actually build more weight because of the elbow being down, right? So that's something that naturally happens, is when you pull horizontally, your elbow goes down. Now, there's a few things you can do. If the head's away from you and you pull the graduation, it's going to be much heavier. If you lift the head up, you're going to end up to have flatter graduation. So keeping the head upright will allow you to lift your hand up higher on the head to keep it flatter. But the other thing that I always do, which I love, is I happen to measure it. So if you look at my fingers underneath, I'll try to take a nice clean section. So if you look at my fingers underneath, I'm actually touching the head. So I'm actually measuring myself how far away from the head I am. So if I do one side and I feel like I'm touching and the next side I'm not, I know that I have some unbalance in there, something that's not right connecting. But the other thing that I always said, the easiest thing to do is to do the drop test. What I mean is, if you think it's heavy, why don't you just drop it and see where it's going to fall? Because if you pick it up and you see it's going to fall here, you might think, well, that's not where I wanted it, it's too heavy. I wanted it to sit above the eyes. Do you see what I mean? So that's always just doing those little tests, like holding the hair up and dropping it so you see it's above the eyes. Or pulling it down and saying, okay, that hits the cheeks. That's where I wanted it to be. So we're actually lucky with hair cutting. We can visually see what's happening as we work, and I think that's something that's really important. So don't be afraid to use your eyes, basically. Look at what you're doing, think about where the hair's going to fall, because that's all that really cutting is. We're lifting hair up and it's going to fall somewhere, so you just have to think, where is it going to fall, and is that where you wanted it to? So beautiful, in my opinion, shape coming through. Let us know if that answered your question, guys. If that helped anyone, let us know.
She said thank you.
Very welcome, very welcome. Everyone's probably got their dull heads out right now. I want to cut hair too. So you can see why we call it this beautiful rounded shape. It's got this lovely silhouette. It works with the bone structure. It comes in nice flat, and it works with the way the root movement is as well. So now I'm going to do the same thing on the second side. So we have our sectioning, which comes from the crown area, and on both sides it came across. Where the head dips, we built the weight. Where the head sticks out, we actually wanted to flatten. So I separated the back to build the weight more, and I've separated the sides because I want to flatten it and round the shape in as well. And we left the top section out as a little triangle here, because we're actually going to have it disconnected in the front a little bit, and it's going to come longer. So we have this sweepy fringe, and these bits, the cheeky bits, are going to be brought out and have a little bit of our sideburns. So that's why it's a bit of a twist on a classic as well. This is beautiful Raffaella. I'm Michael Pizzolidis. This is George Achilleos, and we're here at L'Oreal Studios in Cyprus. So, very exciting. Now, what I'm going to do is, I'm just starting on the second side. Now I'll put that here. And then, again, just consistent water. Enough. The water is what's going to give you control. You don't want the hair to control you. You want to control the hair. So taking very clean sections, really a nice amount of water is what's going to allow you to actually control the hair as well. Beautiful. So again, I'm combing the hair in the direction that I want to take my section in, and I'm also, by combing it forward, I'm actually keeping my guideline from the back and the front, so I can keep an eye on where things are. So I take a little section connecting to the front, and now from this, I could just move the top away, and I can actually now connect it to the back. Now, one thing that's very hard with hairdressing is to have balance. So we always want to have balance in our work. So one thing that we do to create balance is we measure. So remember how we said on the other side, we wanted to hit it onto the cheeks. So what I'll do is I'll pull the hair out, and I'll actually again drop the hair down onto the face to see where it's going to fall. That way when I pick it up and I cut it, I know where the hair's going to fall again, because I've dropped the hair down, I know where it's going to fall, and I feel confident when I cut that when I let go, it's going to hit the right point and it's going to be the right length for me, because I've just spent that extra half a second measuring where the hair's going to fall. Now, after that, you need to start understanding where exactly you're going towards. That's why it's important to take another section across, and so you have a consistent guideline from both sides connecting it. So when I pull all the hair out, I'm actually looking at the angle, and I can see that it's a little heavy here. So I'm just going to come back slightly and just take it a bit tighter as well. And this is going to allow me to start getting closer to the length that I want to create to connect to the back. And so that's the point. It's actually just looking also where we're going with it. I think that's really important. Keeping a vision. So you know what, guys, just stand out for me. A lot of people do this when they cut. They do this. And they can't see actually the shape that they're building because they're so close. So one thing, if you want to be a really good artist, cutter, styler, whatever you want to say, it's about having the vision of everything, the overall finish. So not getting too caught up in the tiny detail and seeing the bigger picture as well. Because there's no point in doing a really clean haircut, but it doesn't look nice. So I think that's why just standing a little bit further back and making sure that everything is where you want it to be, everything connects. So now we've just taken our section across, and again, I'm using my little trick that I showed you before about measuring. So I'm using my fingers underneath to measure against the face how far away I am. And then we just start to connect. Again, visualizing how much we're elevating will flatten the shape. So remember, we've got really wide bones here, so we want to flatten the shape as much as possible. So that's why elevating more is what we're doing, is flattening the shape. And now we're just connecting it to our graduation in the back, and we can see again this beautiful shape coming through where we're building the weight here and we're flattening the sides where the bones stick out a lot. Sorry, Raffaella, you haven't heard so much about your bones. There we go, it's very important, it's very important. So I hope you guys have a bit of a vision about how I work. You know, I'm trying to let you guys into the way my mind works as I'm cutting. I'm always thinking about these things, the bone structure, the elevation, the over direction, the shape of what I'm trying to create. So again, we've got a guideline from underneath with the shape, so we know what shape we're creating. But again, it's about how much elevation you work. So horizontally, shape is easy, right? Because as you see, if you come up, Chris, if you come up to the top, what you're going to see is you're going to see that the shape is really easy because you just follow your fingers. So wherever your fingers take you, that is your shape, right? You've got your guideline from underneath and you're just following your fingers around. Now the hard thing is your elevation. So what I do is I focus all my energies onto my elevation when I'm cutting horizontally. What I mean by this is all my focus is on how much I'm lifting the hair. If I'm lifting the hair too much, I'm going to flatten the shape too much. If I leave it too down, I'm going to make it too heavy. So all I'm focusing on is how much elevation I'm doing, because how much I want to create the angle. Because the shape, the left to right, is really easy because you're working horizontally. So it's about knowing what you have to focus on. When you work horizontally, focus on your elevation. Cool. So guys, any questions out there? Anyone watching who has something that's nagging them about a haircut they were thinking about, or a tip that they want for anything?
They said that they like you to watch you all day long cutting hair.
Oh, guys, that's too kind. I mean, whenever I watch other people cut hair, I just want to cut hair, basically. That's my nemesis. I just always want to be cutting hair. But yeah, you know, thank you so much to the Hairbrain community. We've been doing live videos for so long now, and we always get the most amazing response from everyone. So, you know, we can't thank everyone enough from the community who spends the time to watch what we do and enjoys it. You know, it means the world to us. For us, you know, education liberated our lives, and it's just so nice that we can do something to give it back as well. Cool, so we see the shape building, beautiful, nice flatness here, a little curvature, working with the growth patterns and the softness as well that we're creating. So we're getting towards the top of our second side as well.
Mike, they're asking if could you do that with a razor for more texture?
Of course, of course. I think the way that I explain, let's say, the difference between a razor and scissors is the difference between a pen and a pencil, okay? If you want to draw with a pen, you're going to get these thick, really distinct lines that are very clear. And if you work with a pencil, it's going to be something that's soft, something that's elegant. But the truth is that if you write with a pen or a pencil, you're still writing. So what we find is always, if you take clean sections and you understand your elevation, your over direction, and your shape, it doesn't matter what tool you use, you'll get the same result, but it'll have a different feeling to it. A razor will have the feeling of a pencil, and the scissors will have the feeling of a pen. And I think that is just, for me, sums it up nicely. But you should still think about the same things: your elevation, your over direction, and your cutting angle. What do you think, guys? Do you agree with me? Let us know if you agree or not.
How about another one? How does elevation and over direction affect the movement of the guideline through the number system? Hello from Alaska Education.
Hello, guys. I'm going to try and decipher that question because I think it was quite a big one. So repeat it for me one more time, George.
How does elevation and over direction affect the movement of the guideline through the number system?
You see, at Slate, we don't really work with number systems, so it's very hard for me to say it on that point. But when we talk about, read the question one more time. Let me get this one for you guys. I'm giving you a lot of effort here. Let's see if we can get it.
How does elevation and over direction affect the movement of the guideline through the number system?
You know what, guys, I think for me, it gets very complicated when we talk about hairdressing. And I think for me, I really want to make it a bit more simple. When we have a guideline and it's on the vertical is our cutting angle. So it creates our graduation, our lines, our layers. When we work on the horizontal, we're creating our shape across it. So what happens is, when you work vertically, you can really see your graduation, let's say, as an example. But what's important is, as you move around, depending on how you move left or right, you'll actually be changing your shape. So even though it's very easy to see your graduation, it's hard to understand how much you might go on your number system, 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 4 to 5, that creates your shape. So for me, what happens is, when I work vertically, all my focus is on my over direction to make sure that I have a consistent guideline and I'm creating the shape I want across the left and right. Again, when I work horizontally, as I said, all my focus is on my elevation, because I know that my shape is nice underneath, and providing I take a clean section and I connect to my guideline, the shape will be correct. It's just the problem of how much elevation that I might flatten too much. So for me, it's really about focusing on the shape that you're creating and where you want to build the weight to with your guidelines, or remove weight. So I don't know if that answered your question completely, but I hope it did. At least that's the way that we think about it, and I hope that made sense to you guys. So just let me know. So what we're doing now is we're actually coming through and we're cross-checking what we've done. So we worked horizontally, and now we're going to come through vertically and give it a little cross-check. Again, we're working from the crown area down, and we're just following the way that the hair moves. So when Rafaela actually dries her hair at home, it should sit really nicely, because we've worked with the way the hair grows, not against it. Beautiful. So what we're doing is, we can see we're pivoting our sections from the crown again. So even though we're moving forward, we're following the same guideline. So it comes back to what we were talking about before with guidelines. The guideline for me is stationary at the top. So when I pivot, I'm always having the same guideline from the top, and it's not changing. And that's one way that I don't change my shape, by having a really stable guideline. So every time you pivot, you're actually not cutting the top again, because you've already cut it. You're just connecting whatever you've created to the guideline at the top. So we can see that we don't cut the top section, we're just connecting it, and that's what gives us that beautiful flow within the haircut. So guys, let us know how we're doing, let us know what you think. Please, if you are enjoying it, please like and share, we'd really appreciate it. So thanks so much, guys.
So except from the show on Sunday, what else are you doing in Cyprus?
Well, of course. Well, like I said, we were doing our courses here at L'Oreal, and we do them about 6 times a year. We come to do courses here at L'Oreal Studios. But it is a bit of a second home to me. I am half Cypriot myself, so Yasu for all of you Greeks out there. And I see I can speak the lingo as well. And so it's really like a second home for me. So we love coming here always and sharing our knowledge with the Cypriots here. You know, they have amazing passion. So we can see the softness, we can see the movement. So for those of you that are just joining us, thank you. We're going to do a little quick recap for you. So we started through the back and we separated from behind the ears, and the reason is because the bone structure gets very wide here and it dips in here. So by taking away both sides, we started from the back and we worked with a nice triangle section in the middle first. We created our graduation through the back and we pivoted from the top all the way to the bottom, creating this lovely bit of rounded graduation we have here. What we then did is we came from the front and we took horizontal, or slightly diagonal, but horizontal sections, and we connected from the front to the back, working all of our way up. And how much we elevated was how flat we wanted to create it. So we just kept taking sections all the way. Because the bone structure is quite wide, we were really elevating it to give it this soft feel while still building the weight in the back. Does that make sense, guys? So what we're going to do now is we're going to do one of the fun bits, which is the top of the hair as well. So let's just give it a nice dose. You didn't realize it was going to be raining in Cyprus, did you? Okay, perfect. So what we're going to do is we're just going to comb the hair away. Just 1 second. Can you get me a neck brush from next door, please? Cool. So if you want to come from the top, Chris, what we can do is we can show everyone the top sections as well. So we can see, if you bring your head back, we've got this lovely section that works again from the crown all the way to the front. This is actually our parting line. So this hair is going to sit back on this side, and this hair is going to fall over around the face and connect to the front as well as it comes back. So we're going to move our clips away, but just for safety, we're going to clip away the other side. And there's nothing wrong with this, I feel, about clipping away pieces to make sure you don't interfere with them. But one thing I love about these little silver clips is they don't get in the way. So you can still see the head shape as you work. I think that's really important, is always visualizing the head shape and having a vision of it as you work. So we're just going to bring a bit of water through the front as well. Now again, I always like to start with the hard bits. I think that's the way I like to work when I cut, is I find out which bit's hardest for me and I go straight for that. That way I'm more comfortable when I work, because if I leave the hardest bit for last, I'm normally quite scared. And this is what I find a lot of hairdressers do when they do these kinds of things as well. They end up thinking, okay, I'm going to leave the top long, so I'll do the underneath first, and then I hope that the top's going to look nice. But for me, if I'm worried about the length of the fringe at the front, what I'll do is I'll actually cut that first straight away. So we're just curving around the head, and we have a bit of our guideline from where we've cut before, so we can see the length, and we're going to work that around the head towards the front as well. So we're just going to elevate up, and we're going to start to connect the length at the front. As we work round, and what I'm doing is I'm elevating a lot because I want to create a lot of softness in this section. I really want the hair to sit softly around the face. So what we're doing is we're working around, and we're trying to not leave too much weight in the front, because what that will do is it will push the hair forward. So we're actually curving the section round so that we stop the hair from pushing forward. So can you see how it goes into a point in the front? We're actually looking to really take that point off so we don't have all this weight sitting in the front. And what that'll do is it'll allow the hair to sit softly more to the side. But what I'll do for you guys is, as soon as we finish, I'm going to show you a lovely little trick about making sure that the hair pushes off the face and not onto it. But that connects beautifully now. So what I'm doing is I'm not focusing so much on the layering part of the hair. I'm just focusing on connecting my graduation to the front. But now I know that the front is the length that I want it to be, and I can actually now work a little bit more comfortable. I don't have to worry because I know that the length I've created is correct. So now, and the shape is nice as well, because we can see the shape underneath. So because I'm working on this more horizontal basis, all my focus is on my elevation. But the good thing is, because I'm going to come back and cross-check vertically, I can always make sure that if there's too much weight, I can always get rid of it afterwards as well. So like we said, when we work one way, we work back the other way to make sure. Hands forward, I come back and I work my hands back. By going back and forth, what it does is it just makes sure you grab any inconsistencies or any corners you have in your work. So we're just curving the hair around, and as you can see again, we're taking these curved sections around the head, working from the parting we have all the way to where we've already created our graduation in the back. And so we use the hair underneath as a guideline, we elevate the hair out, and we start to connect it. Now I know that what I'm doing is very heavy, but I know that I'm going to come back afterwards vertically, and I'm going to layer a bit as well. So right now I'm just focusing on connecting my shape and getting rid of any bulky hair as well. And if we have any questions, guys, feel free to ask away.
They're asking, are you over-directing the front?
Yeah, so what I'm doing is I am over-directing everything forwards. The reason, as I said, is it's going to be too heavy in the front. So by pulling the hair actually all the way out the head, all the way out the head, all the way out the head, what I'm doing is I'm creating a softness in the front that allows the hair to move over to the sides. So it just allows us to keep this softness within the haircut as well. Okay, so again, just bringing it forwards, and we're curving around the top of the head. And so it's just the same thing that I'm doing each time, each time, each time. And that's why I say haircuts are all about repetition. That's the most important thing, is just repeating the process again and again very consistently. That's what's going to allow you to see these beautiful shapes when you work. Cool, let me just come over for you, Chris, so you can get in there a little bit. And we can see that we're just following the hair underneath that was our guideline already. Okay, curving around the head again. And I take quite chunky sections underneath because I really want to see my guideline. I think that's really important. You know, people try and take these little small sections, but they end up losing their guideline. And I think that's why it's really important to actually take enough hair that you can see your guideline underneath. For me, it's never correct if you can't see your guideline. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to leave the last section. There's no need to cut it because we're going to come back and we're going to layer the whole haircut anyway. So I want to show you now what I'm going to do for the layering side. So I work always again from the crown. I comb the hair forward and I'm going to pick the hair up and I'm going to create something that goes short and to long in the front as well. And so all of this weight and all of the piece that didn't connect is now going to connect. And so what we do is we feel the bone structure where the head is widest and we make sure that area is very flat. That's what will allow the haircut to move beautifully and not feel bulky. So people talk about, you know, round and square. The thing is, if you do something that's round, you're going to be very much accentuating the head shape because you just follow the head shape, right? So if you do something round, you're going to be exposing, you're going to be bringing out all the things in the head shape, whether you like it or not. That's why working on triangular or square allows you to control everything a little bit better and you can flatten the areas that you don't want to stick out so much. Does that make sense, guys? Give us a little comment if it does, please. Cool. So again, just working through these nice vertical sections and connecting through to the front. So it's just creating that nice soft, building all of that weight from the side. But now I know that with confidence, the sides and the back connect. By bringing in the sides and connecting it here, we can then layer it and know that we're not interfering with our overall shape. Okay, I hope you guys are going to try this in your salons tomorrow. Go and leave us a little comment if you tried it and it worked for you and you liked it. So just lifting up my last section here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do one more cross check after this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the hair again to the side. But we can start to see the shape that we've created. That softness and that weight that we've brought in coming through. So we've allowed this bit to sit a little bit soft and over the face coming over. Beautiful. And then this little bit of softness coming through. But we've still got this cheeky bit underneath that we'll show you later as well. So for my last bit of cross-checking, I'm just going to take these diagonal sections, but I'm going to elevate up and make sure there's no corner here. So the corners, where you feel the bones, is going to make things stick out. So where I feel this very heavy bone here, I'm going to make sure that I work something that's quite flat there. So we have a corner right where the bone is, which means it's going to make the whole thing stick out. So what we're doing is we're coming back, we're feeling where the bone is, where the weight is, and we're using the bones as a point of reference. So I'm actually, when I come in, I can actually feel the bones if I want with my fingers. Where I find my corner, especially around the bone structure that sticks out, I flatten everything. So I'm always working with the bone structure of the hair. I think, you know, the bone structure is what allows the hair to sit nicely when you work. So if everyone takes something away from this today, I want it to be that you have to look at the bone structure more. Cool. And that is Beautiful. So, we've got this lovely little top bit that comes in softness as well, which moves off the face. We have these quirky little pieces from the round graduation that can sit in the front or just come and sit in as well. We've worked softly here, so if we want to push it back and work with the bone structure, we can. And for me, that has a really gorgeous shape. So now we put in a little modern twist and we have a bit of fun. So we've got this piece that we've lovelily tucked away. Don't know how I managed to do that one, but it worked. So let's see what texture we have to play with now. Lovely. So a little bit of water on it, just to allow the hair to take its natural movement again. Now, with these bits, it's always important to keep an element of softness to it as well. Okay, let's take up the other side. So what we'll do is after we do these bits, guys, we'll do a little bit of a recap, and then we'll start to dry off the hair and show you the finished result as well. So what we're doing here is we want to create softness, but we don't really want to lose too much of the length. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to elevate a lot. And by elevating a lot, we're creating softness. Now what I can do is I can pick up the hair that's underneath and I can lift it up. And by lifting it up, I can see that my fingers are above the bottom, which means that I'm layering the hair, but I'm not cutting the length. So this is a good way to check if you're layering. Putting it down, that's your length. If your fingers are above it, it means you can layer it and you're not going to cut your outline at all. You're just creating a little bit of softness within it. So that's a really good trick that I do on a lot of haircuts. If you want to layer something, lift it all the way up, take a little piece from underneath that is your length. So make sure that it's your length, lift it up. And if your fingers are above, it means you can layer and you're not going to create something layer that's shorter than the length that you already had. Cool, looking amazing. So do you just want to get me the hairdryer, please? So what I'll do is I'll give you guys a little bit of a recap. But do you want to just stand up for me? We'll just give it a little bit of a shakedown, get all of that loose hair off as well. Perfect. Do you want to take this from the top? So, beautiful Rafaela with us here in L'Oreal Studios in Cyprus. We've almost finished this amazing haircut. We're about to dry it, but I just want to give you guys a little recap on how we created this look as well. So we started from the back, and we took sections from the crown and we separated the back from the front as well. So once we had separated the back, we graduated the back in. And once we had done both sides, so pivoting from the top, creating our lovely bit of graduation, we had separated the top from the bottom and we worked horizontal sections and we just connected the horizontal sections to the back of the haircut. So what we had is we had the length at the back that we had already cut and we made sure that the front connected to the back. Don't worry guys, if you're just joining, we intended to leave these bits here. I don't think I missed a bit. So we just continue that all the way up, connecting from the back to the front, and how much we lifted the hair up. So how much we actually raised the hair away from the head means how soft it was. So the higher we lifted it, the softer it was, which worked really well with the bone structure as well. For the top bit, we actually brought everything down and connected it to the underneath. But then what we did was we come from the top and we layered it through. So we actually, once we had connected the bottom, we brought it up and we layered the top. What we had done on the other side was actually the same thing. We had brought our sections across, we had our length from the back that we had created. We decided at what length we wanted to do at the front, because we measured it onto the bone structure, and we connected from the front to the back. And this has given us a beautiful result, I think. Perfect. Have a seat for me as well. And let's get a hairdryer out and a brush. Cool. So with the drying, what we're doing is we're just working with the natural growth patterns of the hair. So what I'm doing when I'm drying is I'm just allowing the hair to move where it wants to go naturally. The brush is just kind of moving hair out the way more than anything. So what's happening is we're just allowing the hair to move around the head shape. So by bringing everything around the head, it just creates this soft curve to the hair. So we can see that we're just moving the air around and we're letting the hair fall where it wants to. So we're not being aggressive with it, we're just working with the hair, not against it. It's something I say a lot. Work with the hair, not against it. Because you're never going to win with hair. I think hair is always going to win. So you have to work with what we've got, not against it. But you can see this beautiful shape, I think, coming through now. And that's something I love. When the haircut's really precise, even when it's worn messy, it looks good. It looks like you meant to do it. So again, just allowing the hair to move off the face and around the head. And just moving the hair over from the top as well. Let's spin this round. And again, from the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're just using the air to move away towards the front. Now, whenever you blow dry things forward, they blow dry flatter. So if you want a more flat finish, blow dry the hair forwards. If you want something more heavy, then make sure that you blow dry backwards if you want more volume as well. So last chance for any questions, guys. If you have any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. Beautiful. So just moving the hair over as well, and everything forwards. And you can also do the same thing with your hands. Let's go a little bit closer to me. So from when I come here as well, I want the hair to sit off the face. So I'm just going to start blow drying the hair off the face now from the front. And you can see that the shape's coming in now nicely as well. And what we'll do, we'll be tweaking these little bits that we've left to create something a bit more creative with it. And so I wanted the sides to sit really flat, so I blow dried forwards. And now I want to create this cliff in the front, so I'm just blow drying everything back as well. And guys, if it's been a little bit fuzzy with the internet, we're really sorry. We had some technical problems, so we're going live on 4G here. So we hope you guys can see it all around the world. Let us know if you can see us and if it's good quality. We appreciate everyone's time watching it. It means the world to us. Okay. Perfect. So what I like to do also at the end is I like to use my fingers because it creates a bit of softness to it as well, a little bit of texture, which I like. So there's nothing wrong with using your fingers and creating a soft air dryer. Okay. Amazing. So guys, please tell us what you think. Tell us if you like it, what your ideas are, if you're going to do this with your clients. You can obviously leave out the funny bits, you know, that's just something a little bit that we had to do creatively to push the haircut. But this really is a very classic technique you can use all around as well. Perfect. Just pop it on the side for me. That looks gorgeous. I really like it. Cool. Yeah, so I think it looks really good. I like the flow of it. I like the way. It's just about creating some details now, maybe making it a little bit softer and helping blend the area that we have now here. So we're just going to move the hair off the face as well. And what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to blend a little bit more by actually chipping away bits of the top hair. And this is just going to allow me to blend in a little bit the softness that I've created here as well. And just make it more piecey, more bitty. come through and just create a little bit of slicing as well. So that's the thing, we have to be a little bit visual as well when we work. We have to create something that visually works for us, that we see the softness in it and we like the way it blends, the way it connects with everything as well. And sometimes the softness is actually quite strong as well, and that's what I like. If you do a nice strong haircut, even if you wear it soft, it still looks good. Do you guys agree? Let us know. Okay, so again, doing the same thing on this side, just blending in a little bit more, elevating the hair out. And so guys, what we're going to be doing is we always go live afterwards on our own Facebook page. So Slate Hair Education on Facebook. We're going to be going live after this video to do the head sheet. So any of you really geeky hairdressers out there that love head sheets and diagrams and explanations, we're going to be going live on our own Facebook for you to create those diagrams, to really go deeper into this haircut about how we created it as well. Cool. Looking good, fella. Love it. So these just slightly softer pieces coming through, which I absolutely love. Okay. So yeah, I've designed this haircut for it to sit into the hairline and sit back as well. So that's something that I really like. Now, we could leave it like this, but we could also put just a little bit of product in, just to add a little bit of a creamier, kind of worn-in effect as well, which I like. Cool. Please, guys, if you like it, give it a thumbs up. We'll do a little recap for you now as we're finishing up, but I think it looks really beautiful. I love it. Cool. Do you want to stand up for me? Amazing. Cool. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rafaela. So what we're going to do, we're going to give a little bit of a recap. So obviously this is a very classic shape, but we've just done a little bit of a little twist on it, a little quirky bit that we've left out as well. So we started this haircut because I wanted to leave the softness in here as well. We started from the back, we separated the top and the back, so from behind the ears, we worked a section first for our graduation, so we created the angle we wanted to, so that was very important for our first section. And then when we pivoted from the top, so we stayed stationary at the top, and each section